Well, start with product knowledge. Yes, you have to have a basis of information, but you don't want to overanalyze. What you do want to do is meet as many people as you can and say yes to as many people as you can within reason. The more you can say yes, the easier it is to build a fan base.
Welcome to The Growth Mindset, the podcast for ambitious real estate and mortgage professionals. Hosted by Adam Crossley and Rick Riddle, this show dives into entrepreneurial strategies, sales techniques, and mindset hacks designed to fuel your career growth. Get ready to learn from top producers, gain actionable insights, and start your journey towards success. Here's your hosts, Adam and Rick.
All right, thank you, Eric Bowers, for that welcome introduction. We got a fun episode today because our Eric Bowers that introduces us and then gives all our legalese and keeps us employed as podcasters is actually our guest today. So I'll start with the proper hellos. I'm Rick Riddle with my co-host
Adam Crossley,
and like I said, we have Eric Bowers, who's our I don't want to say intern Eric Bowers. I feel like I'm a radio show and like you're like stuttering John. Like you're like our voiceover guy that introduces us. And I guess you're an intern because we don't pay you for our podcast, all the millions and millions of dollars we have because of our millions and millions of viewers. But welcome, Eric.
The opinions and views of the podcast are not resonant with Adam Crossley. Thank you. I almost feel like Eric is like the Wizard of Oz. He's the man behind the curtain. And we get to pull the curtain back today and really learn who Oz is.
It's one of my favorite movies, and I appreciate that. I'm the great Oz amongst these dogs that work with me. Yes, I'm the great Oz. I got Toto, Dorothy, and the cowardly lion over here.
It's just funny because Adam and I were on a meeting, I guess 4 days ago, and you literally used the one of my favorite quotes: "Oz never gave the Tin Man what he didn't have already from America," right? Is that Oz never gave the Tin Man what he didn't already own, right? Is that what the quote is?
I think so.
Something to that effect. Who said that?
I think Adam said it. It's actually from a song from the band America.
Oh, okay.
Might be Horse with No Name might be the name of the song. I don't, but I know the lines.
Horse with No Name.
I don't know. Anyway, so
welcome to karaoke night.
Yeah. Anyway, so Eric Bowers, who's been not only does great voiceover work, and actually is a professional in terms of voiceover work, which is why we paid him $0 to do our voiceover work for us, but he actually gets paid in normal gigs, but also is a full-time mortgage loan originator and branch manager in Tampa, Florida for Crown Home Mortgage. So we figured, you know what, now is the time to bring him on in official capacity, just not his voice recording. And kind of tell his story because it's an interesting one, I think, for listeners that are, I'll call it stuck, right? And looking to grow, but has the growth mindset. And we obviously talk about that a lot on this podcast. But, you know, Eric was a guy that was, and I don't even know if stuck is the word, but made a decision to head south for the winter and never look back. And I think, you know, is successful now in the mortgage world, but parachuted, we like to call parachuting into a new market, right? So, Eric, why don't you tell a little bit about your story? Like, you know, because I think it's a pretty cool story to tell.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I started in 2017 as a mortgage lender with PNC, and I was a banker up there for many years, and I was a branch manager. And so, you know, one day I said to myself, you know, I bet that would be pretty cool to do, like all this lending. So I started there. They gave me an opportunity, and it was great. And then after a couple of years, I ended up going to work for a small company in South Jersey. And so I was there for months. And my wife, Alexandra, had hinted at, you know, she'd been coming down here into Tampa for interviews from Philadelphia, where we lived. And she had been hinting at, she goes, you know, one of these days, one of these people is going to like pick me up. We're going to move down there. I'm sure of it. And I believed in her, of course. And finally, one of these universities picked her up. And so August of 19, it was like a mad scramble to move here. Now, I'd been a lender since May of 17. actually, what was it? This past Saturday was my eighth year as a lender.
There you go.
So May 17th of 17. So I was like, oh my God, we're moving to Florida, where I know one person, my brother who lives in Jacksonville, and we're all from New York State. So like, it's like I knew nobody here. So we get down here, she's working along, and I ended up leaving my company from South Jersey because they had no office here. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I worked for a tech company for 6 months because I'm very nerdy, as it were, in the Apple ecosystem. So I actually worked for an app developer and realized, it's not having the same identical paycheck every other week is like cool, but it's like not what I was after, because I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. And frankly, I just wanted to compete, because if not, I'm like, oh my God, if I have to go the steps and see the end of my career now in front of me, that will depress the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So I like have to have the challenge. So in the meantime, since I moved here, Mike Mateka with our company with Beautiful Crown Home Mortgage, and I had stayed in touch, and I'd been referring a few deals to him after I'd left the industry. And then I kept thinking to myself, like, why am I keep referring and I'm not going to get paid on any of this because I've left the industry like a dummy? And so I called him up, and, he was like, there's a new opportunity opening up down here. And it was in one of the suburbs here in Tampa. So ended up coming, into Crown from that. I actually had a brief.
How long were you out of the game for?
Yeah, and I actually skipped over a major point. Mateka pulled me in to our parent company, Absolute Home Mortgage, when I got down here.
Okay.
And after I had some closings, I just didn't know anybody here. And frankly, I had not a great basis of knowledge. And I still hold this, it's not bitterness anymore, but I still hold this close to me. It's like I had a really shitty start to my mortgage career because I didn't have anyone that really, really cared, except for a few people that I still talk to occasionally. But my mentor wasn't fit to be a mentor. Nice guy. Wasn't fit to be a mentor. So I started off and I worked for Absolute for like 5 months, had a few closings, and I was like, I got to get out of here. I don't know what I'm doing. So I worked for the tech company for 6 months, and I truly stepped away for 6 months. I thought, I'll never be back in sales. I'll never do anything like that. I'm a tech-minded person. And then when it came down to it, I missed the art of competition.
Yeah.
And so I told Alexandra one day, I was in the jacuzzi and I was like depressed as shit. And I was like, I got to go back to sales. I can't do this. I can't do this every single day of my life. Even though it was a nice company to work for, the tech company, the app developer. I was like, this is not me. She's like, I totally agree. What's that?
Hard to be a clock pusher.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not. I don't think I'm a great employee because I have way too many opinions. And so okay, so then I'm getting referrals out of nowhere, out of left field. It's like, do you have a loan for like $1.7 million? I'm like, where the hell were you about 6 months ago, pal? So I'm like, yes, I do. And I would refer to Mike Mateka. And then another couple $100,000 would come in. I'm like, I got to get back in the game. So it's just always very serendipitous.
Yeah.
And this is like mid 2020. So I'm in lockdown, but with Florida, it was like quote unquote lockdown. So I'm like hanging outside. And Mateka's like, why don't you come work for Crown, for this side of the house now? And I had briefly known Bobby and Rick and didn't know Mark at all. Just because I'd seen you guys up at the convention center. They had the triple play in South Jersey that happens every year. So for the Realtor triple play, I'm sure he talked about before. But I was like, yeah, I mean, all right, cool. And then so I worked with the branch manager and with Mike for a couple years and got the ropes and stepped into his relationships with a real estate brokerage here and just got to learn the ropes of how to be an in-house lender and what to do, what not to do. And, I felt I took another look at myself about 2 years in, and I was like, I'm not a good in-house lender. I have, again, too many opinions. I mean, it makes me sound like I'm a total jerk, but I'm not. I knew I could take a chance on myself by working with agents that I had developed now relationships with at that point over the past like 2.5 years. And so now, 5 years being with Crown, it'll be 5 years coming up in a couple months. It's different now. I mean, now I know thousands of people, and I've kept track of, everyone I've talked to and everything like that. And
Nice.
And so if I ever get in a mood where I'm like, man, business is really slow, I'm like, you dummy, look at your contact list, look at your spreadsheet. How many people do you know? And I remember sitting there for 2 weeks in the jacuzzi, smoking cigars like an idiot, not knowing a single soul down here, going like, I think my life is over. I don't know. It was like the saddest 2 weeks I ever had. And my wife's off working at a new job, hobnobbing, and, and it just, everything changed around. So now I know a lot of people. And I'm trying to just forge relationships to go ahead. I mean, it's a pretty abbreviated version of my career, but that's really the path.
So, I mean, look, I think it's a great story. And look, you built a nice book of business, in a market area. And I'll say, I know there's up and downs, but a relatively short period of time. So I guess, is there one or two things that if we have a listener that's moving to a new market area or a new loan officer that is brand new to the business, what would you tell them was the one or two most important things you did to build those relationships?
Well, start with product knowledge. Yes, you have to have a basis of information, but you don't want to overanalyze. What you do want to do is meet as many people as you can and say yes to as many people as you can within reason. The more you can say yes, the easier it is to build a fan base. So you can step up and say, hey, I can do that. That's why I love the non-QM world, the non-qualified mortgage world, because you bring me a guy that makes $600,000 a year as a 1099 and shows 12,000 in annualized income on an IRS return. I don't give a shit. That guy made $600,000 last year.
Exactly.
So, right, exactly. I'll work with that guy all day long, and I'll just do it in an alternative way with, halfway decent rates and things like that. I love that stuff because I can get to say yes a lot. So for anyone new, first off, know yourself. I think the DISC personality stuff that we took, they've taken Myers-Briggs. The more I tuned into who I really, really was, the more authentic I could be seen with people. And, I worked in a bank for a long time. I'm still a suit and tie guy. I don't wear the tie because it's hot as hell down here, but I still love a suit. But, don't be stuffy. Like, that's just me because I'm comfortable in that stuff. But like, truly be yourself and like, be a chucklehead. Like, I love to joke around. I mean, I would just say, know yourself, know who you really are, get that product knowledge under your belt. No one's going to take you seriously if you don't. But if you can meet a lot of people, be yourself, follow up. The other thing is staying organized. I had to teach myself many, many years ago how to be organized because I always had this sort of like, musician, goofy brain where I was just like, oh, that sounds fun. Let me do this now. Very lizard brain.
Yeah.
And I had to teach myself how to stay organized. And it's been the best. It's been the thing that's paid me back the most because where other people were more popular, were more outgoing, were more social butterflies, that wasn't my strong suit. But where there's, people out there that might yes people to death in the way that I mean is, oh, sure, I'll get back to you on Tuesday. Oh, yeah. I'll call you Thursday at 3. And it never gets written down. It doesn't go on a task list or a calendar anywhere. It's like, what are you going to remember all that amongst the fact that you got to get gas, groceries, cat food, whatever it might be? Like, I stayed organized. And that's been my weapon is to try and stay organized, follow up with people when I said I would, call people when I said I would, because then they can rely on me. And if they can rely on me, they go, this guy's not half bad. And then they really get to know, and vice versa. And I have a vested interest in each other, actually. So
it's actually interesting, right? It's like, I think that many salespeople overpromise, underdeliver, right? because they're so desperate for the deal. And we all are, right? We're all deal junkies. We want to get the deal. But I think that they overpromise, underdeliver. I think they don't have a systematic follow-up plan like you do. And we've nicknamed you the architect because you know your products really well. Actually, you teach our Mortgage 101 class for brand new people in the business because of that skill set that you have. But I think that one thing that you said that was really, really poignant is that you are true to yourself. You are who you are. You're comfortable in your skin. And I think that referral partners, customers see that, right? Like, I think that if you're like the Chuck Woolery, hey, like fancy, kind of fake surface level.
Those are fantastic shoes. Look at those. Oh my God.
Right. You may warm the room. You may win over the day, right? Because you're entertaining, right? Like you're like a stage presence, right? Like, but you're not going deep.
Right.
And this business is all about deep relationships, right? And I think that, look, there's a lot of referral partners in this business that you build over time, that you get one or two. Like, I can't tell you the number of real estate agents that loan officers build relationship with, but they don't maintain relationships. And a lot of people say, oh, realtors are fickle, realtors are not loyal. And I disagree with that. I say the opposite. We don't do a good enough job going deep. And if you can go deep with people, then you can have really, really strong relationship. And that's where the loyalty becomes. And I think you do a good job of that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think that this is a challenging business because where once my job was literally called relationship manager, and that's all I did, this is tough because right now I'm choosing to operate solo, right? Like, I could have a loan partner, but I'm choosing to operate solo. And I'm like an octopus. Like, it's not like I'm, 24/7, but you get pulled in a couple different directions a day. And so that is a challenge in that, like, if you're trying to go deep with people, you have to be organized, especially if you're super duper busy. You have to stay organized. And I think that's where having that core group of people, like 25, 20, 30 people that are referral true partners, where it's back and forth, that is paramount to success. Because I don't need, like, I said this to my wife the other day, like, I don't need 400 friends. I don't want, or 4,000 friends. I don't want that many. I don't need to be popular. I just want, like, 40 people to go, like, oh, that guy knows exactly what he's doing, and I totally trust him.
And if you have a good set of good relationships like that, that's all you really need. I mean, if you get one lead a month from all of those, just 30, 40 people,
yeah,
I mean, that's an 8 to 10 unit a month business right there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So totally agree. Going deep is totally key.
Yeah. And look, and while you don't have a loan partner, right? And I think you, honestly, I think Adam and I both think that you should. And if this was a coaching session, we would talk more about that. But what you do have, that while it's not a physical person loan partner, you are really, really have embraced technology. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so you do have a loan partner. This just happens to be AI, right? Which I think, right? Like, and that's probably in some ways keeps you own it, right? You're very connected. I mean, every time I have an Apple question, by the way, check with Eric if you have any Apple questions. He knows Apple, like, he is Steve Jobs.
Thank you for calling the Apple Store. Our hours are 9 a.m. Yeah, I have an automation right now where I click a button on my Mac or anywhere, my iPhone, my iPad. And by the way, that right there is a lesson before I even tell you anymore. Ubiquity, like having things everywhere. Like, oh, that's back on my computer. Horse shit. I don't want to hear that. Like, it's got to be with you everywhere if you're really going to try and run this business from anywhere. My idea was to be able to step away, open up an iPad, and, like, go to the beach if I wanted to, and be able to crank out a 6-figure income. Like, that's truly all I ever wanted, and now I have it, right? But so anyone that's feeling a little disorganized, just make sure you, like, can run your business from anywhere, for the most part. But I have an automation right now where I click a button, and I dictate like a story, like customer has 20% down, currently rents, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, what's the name? Jimmy Smith. And it opens up Jimmy Smith's record and pastes what I just said into Jimmy Smith's record. So like it saves 12 seconds off of everything. I'm not hunting and clicking because I'm trying to move fast and I'm lazy, believe it or not. So I'm lazy in that I want technology to do the heavy lifting, the $2 per hour work as opposed to like the $200 per hour work. And so I do use it for all I can.
That's not lazy at all. That's working smarter. That's delegating things that taking things off your plate so you can do things that are more meaningful and more impactful. Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's personal or life, right? And I think that we, as loan officers, those that have the growth mindset have their systems locked down, right? And not only have your systems locked down, whether it's human capital, right? That you have LOAs or loan partners or assistants or technology on lockdown, because the only way to really have a full-time, like I'll call it the growth mindset entrepreneurialism, is that you have to take stuff off your plate. So number one, and I think we could do a whole episode on this, which we have not, but like you've got to have time off for yourself, right? Like you got to have, and this business, and I've said it multiple times, I might even say it on this podcast, right? Great news about this business is not a money through 9 to 5 job. The worst part about this business, it's not a money through Friday 9 to 5 job, right? And you've got to be able to set some type of boundaries in your life so you can take that personal time to recharge your batteries to do. I mean, I think entrepreneurs and growth mindset people love to work and but we're working for a reason, right? So we can enjoy life, right? And so you have to spend the time to enjoy life. And I know that, Eric, you do. And I don't think you could do it without systems.
It comes from the whole like knowing yourself thing that I said earlier. Like I have found, even as a people pleaser, I get super duper grumpy if I'm burnt out, super grumpy. Like people get the worst of me, right? And no one wants that. And I'm just human. So if I get a call, it's really rare, but if I get a call from a realtor at like 8:30 p.m. or a text, it's usually a text. So-and-so wants to get it pre-approved. And if it's a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m., I'm like, hey, are they bidding on something right now? Is this a total emergency? Oh my gosh, no, call me back. 5 years ago, I would have dropped everything on a Sunday afternoon. And it's not to say that I won't now. If someone's in a situation where it's like a bidding war, you bet. The time's of the essence. For sure. Make it happen right now. But that's where I went from a feeling of like, I'll never say no to, boy, I feel really guilty saying not right now, to now I say, hey, not right now. And is that okay? And then if they're like, totally. Because listen, realtors also are doing that because they're not going to do a 9 to 5 job necessarily. Like they create their own hours. So people do understand. And but we're in like battle together. So realtors know that I have their back and vice versa. And financial advisors, I've been in a scenario where it's an 11th hour deal and financial advisors like, can you make this happen? We just got turned down by my credit union for this customer. And we got to close in 14 days. I'm like, hit the gas pedal. That's an emergency situation. Mm-hmm. And so I guess knowing when to go to that is key because otherwise you would not allow yourself to rest if you really needed it. If you were just constantly at 100% all the time.
Yeah. Love it. So now let's have some fun. I know you do voiceovers. I was literally thinking like when you're angry, you need to do like a Betty White voice. I like ever see those commercials where it's like Betty White's not herself, and like we have to give you like a Snickers bar. Like
oh yeah.
When you're hangry, like when you're
angry, like yes, exactly. No, I know. I don't do female impressions. I don't have the range for it. That's just not me. But did somebody say steak? You could do that. That lady. Who's that? I don't even know that. Deuce Bigelow, American Gigolo. Where you saw Deuce Bigelow? I did years and years ago.
Oh my goodness, I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the heavy set black lady was sitting on her laying on the thing, and like Deuce Bigelow's there, and she's like, Did somebody say steak?
And he goes, oh my God, I don't even know this reference. Like I gotta like watch that again.
Who's your favorite character to do, Eric?
I don't. They have definitely some favorite people in real life that I mimic, but my favorite character is probably Cleveland Brown because I can do that the best from Family Guy. Like, hey Peter, Loretta and I's gonna have familiar relations tonight. Yeah, 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 like that. On the nose.
All right, so let's throw some fun at you.
Awesome.
Do Long Island real quick.
Hey, how you doing, Rick? You're looking good with that Eagles hat, but I don't know you should have it like, probably some sort of a New York Giants or Jets or something.
Listen, I now do a Philadelphia accent or South Jersey.
Yeah, you just going to Pats and Geno's and you just getting whiz or no? Go home. All right, go home. Get out of here. Yes, wipe. Go ahead. I do this for my own entertainment. It is literally to make myself laugh. That's stupid.
And you send messages. By the way,
Oh, brother.
I know.
my birthday message was amazing, by the way. And I appreciate you.
What's great, though, is when you get into character, you don't think like yourself anymore. You think, what would this character say or do? And you just go on this long rant. And then I don't think the listeners tuned in for, I think they tuned in for actionable advice, but I don't think they tuned in for voiceover.
Probably not.
Know that you can disguise yourself as other people, right?
What is it?
It's good to know you can disguise yourself as other people.
I know. Did you call Crown Home Mortgage for Eric? Because he's with another client on the phone. Please hold. Doot, 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 doot. Hey, what's going on? I'm gonna have.
But I do believe, right? Like, people love people, right? And you have to let that personality out, right? Because that way they get to know the real Eric. And the more they get to know the real Eric, like you said, the more they like you. And like, you're not here to entertain 4,000 people. You want to get deep with 40 people. And the only way to get deep with 40 people is for them to know you.
Right.
Well, I like you, right? And I think that's important.
It's also knowing your limitations. Like Alexander will tell me, once in a while, she's like, you come off as very intense. She's like, you look like a cop. And I get it. I totally get it. I've seen myself on video walk. I'm like a robot. So to offset that, my natural sense of humor, like once people they might not get the first impression I'm the warmest, most cuddly, right? But just a big chucklehead inside. And, I just want the best for people. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. When I took over the branch, my guiding principle is I operate from a place of love. For real. I want people, everyone's got a talent. Everyone has a talent that they inherently come in with. Mine happens to be using my voice, and I have really good listening skills. That's been a saving grace, right?
Nice.
But everyone's got their talent. And if like a new team member, like we have a few of them, if they don't know something, I don't want them to be bashful to ask. Like the class that I'm going to teach tomorrow, I always start out, there's no stupid questions. We're all in this together. And then eventually I'll just start doing voices or something to make them laugh. And then I get massive participation, And so I do operate from a place of love because we're in this to help each other. When you think about it, like we're helping move local economies with moving real estate. That's pretty big if you can step out of your friggin' debt to income ratio analysis and your loan to values and step back and go like, wow, what I help do actually moves the ball forward, wherever I am. So anyway, from a place of love.
Love it. That sounds like a Beatles song.
Yeah. From a place of love. Right.
There you go. Well, thank you, Eric, so much. The real Eric, not just voiceover. Yeah, take it away, Eric, that we always introduce every week. So awesome to have you on and share your story. And thank you so much. Adam, any parting questions for Eric? He's in the hot seat before we let the other Eric take it away.
No, it's so good to really get you on here, Eric, and get to know you a little bit better. And it's awesome that, some takeaways for me is like, to thy known self be true, and really figuring out who you are so that you can help others. And you'd said one other thing too, the art of competition. And, it's really true that there's so many people that just chase a paycheck when at the end of the day, it's that drive of being in competition with others and yourself that pushes you for more. And, brother, it's just so good to, peel the Oz curtain back and get everybody to know.
Never mind that man behind the curtain. Never mind. Yeah, thank you. Oh,
Nice.
and I love you both, and thank you for having me on. And you got to listen to this bullshit message on the way out of here too.
Yeah. So everybody, so thank you for listening to this episode of the Growth Mindset Podcast. I'm Rick Riddle with my co-host
Adam Crosley.
and we had special guest Eric Bauer. So Eric, I'm going to introduce Eric to take it away.
Take it away, Eric. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Growth Mindset, hosted by Adam Crosley and Rick Riddle. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your colleagues. Stay tuned for more actionable insights to fuel your career success. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily reflect the official policies, positions, or opinions of Absolute Home Mortgage Corporation or Crown Home Mortgage. The content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice or an official endorsement by either organization.